Yeah, I'll react to that, sure.
What's happening?
Tucked away in the heart of St James is one of London's most sumptuous buildings. It's the London...
Original link to the video, top of the description. What an intro. We're good. We're all set. Original, all the things. History hit. It's a old London house. That's why I'm watching. My name's New. My name's Connor if you're new. I'm keeping that in. All right. That was legitimate word stroke. Jesus Christ. Too good to restart. All right, let's go.
Tucked away in the heart of St James is one of London's most sumptuous buildings. It's the London house of the Spencer family. That's the family of the infamous Georgiana, Duchess of Devonshire, and the late Princess Diana. Today, I'm having a sneak peek inside. We'll be going above stairs, we'll be going below stairs, and we'll even be going underground.
Why did I think Princess Diana wasn't... Oh, she was royalty?
These are the secrets of Spencer House.
Yup.
So, who were the Spencer family, and how did they land such a fine pied-à-terre as this? Well, they originally came from Warwickshire. They were based in a village called Wormleighton and made their fortune from sheep farming.
When their Warwickshire home was destroyed in the Civil War to prevent it falling into the hands of the Roundheads, they settled for good in their Northamptonshire estate, Althorpe, which remains the family's country seat to this very day.
They were...
Wait, so the W, the second W in Warwick is silent? Warwickshire.
Their way up from barons to earls, and soon there were Spencers working.
Okay, let me restart, please. Just
in the Civil War,
their fortune from sheep farming.
When their Warwickshire home was destroyed in the Civil War to prevent it falling into the hands of the Roundheads, they settled for good in their Northamptonshire estate, Althorpe, which remains the family's country seat to this very day.
They worked their way up from barons to earls, and soon there were Spencers working as powerful statesmen, principal advisors to the monarchy, and foreign ambassadors.
But it was John, the first Earl Spencer, who was born in 1734, who we're concerned with today. He was the great-grandson of Sarah, Duchess of Marlborough. That's the lady who built Blenheim Palace. He was also the grandson of the third Earl of Sunderland, and so young John inherited both these fortunes. He became one of the wealthiest young men in the land. Not only was John lucky in his birth, he was lucky in love too. He married his childhood sweetheart, Georgiana Poyntz. Unusually for the 18th century, the couple didn't detest each other. They were genuinely in love.
Shortly after their marriage, and equipped with a vast fortune, they built a splendid new London house in St James's, overlooking Green Park, as a compliment to Althorpe, the country estate.
It was to be a temple of the arts, a setting for the Earl's art collection, some of which he inherited, some of which he bought during his grand tour. It was also to be a paean of the Spencers' connubial bliss, a celebration of their happy marriage. But there was a practical reason too. Georgiana was a society hostess, and she needed somewhere to wine and dine fashionable London society.
In 1756, the 21-year-old John Spencer set to work, or at least set other people to work. His new London pad was to be built in the classical style. He was greatly interested in the antiquities of the ancient world and would later become a keen member of the Society of Dilettanti, a group of men who were dedicated to Roman taste and Greek gusto.
The design was pretty groundbreaking for the time, but it set the ball rolling for the neoclassical style to dominate in England in the second half of the 18th century. English Baroque was out, neoclassical was in.
The Earl hired the acclaimed architect
neoclassical.
John Vardy.
Classical
Oxymoron? No.
was in.
The Earl hired the acclaimed architect John Vardy, a pupil of William Kent. Vardy was responsible for the ground floor rooms and the external elevations, the facades, that is. His work was inspired by imperial Rome, and this is the result: handsome and dignified.
This is the main facade, faced in Portland stone, looking over Green Park. We have this rusticated stonework on the base, this lower story, then the ground floor, which is more refined. It's got large windows with plain arches. Up again is the first floor with the grand state.
The second floor, okay? The ground floor is the first floor. The second floor is the second floor. Third floor. The only place where I see ground floor used as the street level floor is in hotels. Maybe in like business buildings as well. Anywhere that like has a lot of is tall with a lot of elevators. I already knew about that, but the house seems so out of place. Like, you ever seen photos of that one house that refused to sell? And so all of the highway and different projects had to build around them, and they just never sold, and it's just right there. I get the same feeling, just on a much grander scale.
Rooms, the windows framed by delicate delaying, pediments on the windows alternating between rounded and pointed, and each window is separated by a sturdy Doric column, and it's topped off by this overhanging cornice with a classical frieze, and then an enormous pediment with restrained, muted decoration. To top it all off, it's crowned with statues of Bacchus, Flora and Ceres, representing hospitality, beauty and fertility.
The main entrance is found on this street facade on St James's Place. It's obvious from the moment you step foot inside that they really went heavy on the classical theme.
In fact, almost every detail, every cornice, every moulding here is based on examples from classical antiquity, which many young aristos were becoming familiar with because of their trips to the continent, which were known as the Grand Tour.
This oval relief above the fireplace represents Antinous, the favourite of Emperor Hadrian. It's a plaster cast of the high marble.
Antinous.
And Antinous, the favourite of Emperor Hadrian. It's a plaster cast of the high marble relief from antiquity, which was excavated at Hadrian's villa in 1735.
In fact, some people have said that this is the very first depiction of a man playing the air guitar.
I want to learn guitar.
Lord Spencer saw the
Is that Nero or something? Close friend of Hadrian? How close?
house as an embodiment of his own classical taste, writing, "I have not lost the taste I acquired in Italy. My house in town is at last near being finished, and as I have an aversion to China and Japan, I shall endeavour to finish it as much as possible with this sort of thing."
The first Earl had 5 children, 3 of whom survived to adulthood. The eldest was the beautiful Georgiana, Duchess of Devonshire, who was known as Dear Little G by her mother. She became a favourite of fashionable London society and was played by Keira Knightley in the film The Duchess.
Is it true, Mamma? It is. The Duke of Devonshire.
Their eldest son, George, became the second Earl Spencer, and
How many shows, TV shows, or movies is Keira Knightley playing a 17th century upper class woman?
the first Lord of the Admiralty.
She does fit the role perfectly, you know.
Eldest son
Obviously, I'm just
George
curious.
became the second Earl Spencer and the first Lord of the Admiralty during the French Revolutionary War. He was also a member of the Whig Circle, which revolved around the future George IV and Charles James Fox, the politician. There was a second daughter too, Henrietta, who became Countess of Besborough. The famous writer Arthur Young visited the house and wrote about it in 1772. "From hence you enter the dining room," he said, "the decorations in their finest taste, the richest of their kind, the ceiling and cornicing of white and green, beautiful, the slabs of sienna marble on the side tables, large and finely veined, and the chimney piece, a basso relief of white marble, finely polished."
You can see, so this is like the second type of pillar capping. You can see like the curl under it, right? And at the bottom, if you just reverse it, I think that's I think, aren't there three main types of Greek style pillar tops? I forget the name for them. There's like the curly one, the plain one, and then like the extra extravagant looking one. I could be wrong.
Of their kind, the ceiling on the side of white marble, finely polished.
The ceiling is based on Inigo Jones's ceiling in the Banqueting House in Whitehall. This elegant frieze with festoons of laurel sacred to Apollo, this derives from the Temple of Fortuna Virilis in Rome. Some of the original decoration by Vardi was updated in the 1780s by Henry Holland, the son-in-law of the landscape architect Capability Brown. He added these 4 Greek Ionic columns.
Now, I know what you're thinking. I know you're thinking that these are Sienna marble. Well, no. They are faced in scagliola. Now, scagliola was what they used to simulate marble. It's a composite substance made from the mineral selenite and glue and other natural pigments. It's veined with colours and then polished with flax oil for brightness and wax for protection. Lovely. We know that this...
It's crazy how much imitation of ancient Greek style art and architecture is still mimicked and prized and looked up to so much today. I think partially because I'm guessing that a lot of political systems were kind of derived from the Greek ones, but I'm curious what the ancient Greeks looked up to and what they admired of people before them, because there's no way that all of that was original. And I'm sure some lost the time, but I'm super curious.
Must have been a room for partying when even the putty on the fireplace are having a whale of a time. They've got wine, they've got grapes, they've got an urn here. FOMO. This is probably one of the weirdest sculptures I've ever seen. It was based on a satirical print by Thomas Rowlandson, which was published originally in February 1784.
The subject refers to a scene from classical mythology where the infant Hercules strangled the serpent sent to kill him by Juno. It's also a scene which features in the Disney cartoon Hercules.
But in this sculpture, as it was in the original print, the infant Hercules here is replaced by the British Prime Minister William Pitt the Younger, and the serpents are replaced by his political rivals Lord North and Charles James Fox. Lord North.
Who does he look like? The guy
and Charles
on Conan O'Brien.
James Fox. It represents Pitt's triumph in defeating the North-Fox coalition. Pitt became Prime Minister at the age of just 24, and it was, according to contemporaries, a sight to make all nations stand and stare, a kingdom trusted to a schoolboy's care.
I kind of just whispering myself right now. I just curious. It looked familiar. Just forget it.
Next is the palm room. This is where the gentlemen retired after dinner, no doubt to drink copious amounts of wine and discuss the war with France.
Palm trees were seen as a
There's the third type. Boom.
Seen as a symbol of marital fertility, and so probably a hint to the Spencers' own happy marriage. These natural forms also underline the 18th century belief that classical architecture and nature were intrinsically connected. And notice the frieze of griffins. This is based on the Temple of Antoninus and Faustina in Rome, but it's also got an extra special meaning here, for the griffin is the heraldic supporter of the Spencer arms. Here we arrive at the stone cantilever stairs, and look at this little trick of the eye here in the balustrade. Now, it's cut of sheet metal, painted with trompe l'oeil, and pretending to be three-dimensional festooned drapery. Sneaky.
As we walk up this staircase, we are leaving behind the world of ancient Rome and entering the world of ancient Greece. For halfway through the building project in the autumn of 1758, when the shell of the building and the ground floor decorations were almost completed, Vardi was replaced by a new architect. He was James Stewart, who had recently returned from Greece. He was so famed for his designs in the ancient Greek style, he was dubbed James Athenian Stewart.
As you walk up the staircase, you can see the work of the two architects and the two styles meeting each other. Look at this barrel ceiling. This is the work of James Athenian Stewart. It gives the impression of a Greek temple interior with festive garlands threaded between these Ionic pilasters. Now, John Vardy mostly completed his work in 2 years, but James Athenian Stewart, a man after my own heart, was notoriously lazy. He was known to prefer an easy and convivial life to the exacting routine of a busy architect's office. So, these first floor rooms, which I'm about to show you, took 8 years to complete.
This was Lady Spencer's private drawing room where she received guests.
Love the color.
It's lavishly decorated, but of course, James Athenian Stewart never actually finished it.
Look at these circular panels. These were supposed to be painted with classical scenes, and although we might not think much of it today, visitors did notice and comment at the time it wasn't completed. When a friend visited in 1764, she wrote to Lady Spencer commenting on the gaps. "The ceilings go on very well," she began, but then added, "None of the compartments in your dressing room are yet begun."
But Arthur Young was suitably impressed, especially with this fireplace, describing it as finely designed and admirably executed. It is of white marble wrought only with the utmost taste and beautifully polished. Over the cornice are festoons of the lightest carving and 2 eagles with a very fine basso relief in the centre.
From the first floor, you can see this delightful half-acre garden. When Spencer House was
Giant window panes. That's really cool.
first built, this wasn't actually here. The house stood directly beside the park, and the public footpath passed just outside the windows. And so, oh horror, the London riffraff were able to peer through the glass at close.
Yuck! Ugh. Phew. Spit. Yuck. How dare they?
Quarters. This was not to be borne, the Spencers thought, and in the 1790s the Crown Estate granted a strip of land to give the house a garden and push the footpath and the hoi polloi on it well away from the house.
Good riddance.
Crisis over.
That was a close one.
This is the Great Room. It was much admired in the 18th century, with contemporaries describing the ceiling being covered in mosaicked compartments, green and white and gold.
That's
there are
nice.
3 shallow domes and the bronze plaster medallions on each side. And all of these features here, the vases in the corner, the
white, gold, green.
coffering, the frieze, are taken directly from designs from antiquity.
It was in rooms such as these where the Spencers may have had their own private balls. Typically, a ball began at 9 or 10 p.m. and lasted until 5 a.m. the next morning, where they might be served at breakfast.
Jane Austen once wrote of a ball she attended in 1800. There were only 12 dancers, she wrote, of which I danced 9 and was merely prevented from dancing the rest by a want of a partner. We began at 10, supped at 1, and were at Dean before 5. There were but 50 people in the room. These mirrors are known as pier glasses, as they're placed between these 2 windows in this pier. Now look at the crest at the top. There are miniature griffins, symbols of the Spencer family, drawing the chariots of love to represent the first Earl's marriage. And on the chariots are amorini, that's those chubby naked boys posing as cupids. Tolerable, but not handsome enough to tempt me. Look at these gilt metal handles on the doors. These are in the shape of an S. S for Spencer, that is. This Bacchic head forming the handle was actually taken from the design of a Roman sarcophagus.
This room is decorated to celebrate the triumph of love.
A beautiful door.
Over here is the judgment of Paris from the Trojan Wars, and there's Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite.
The oval panel over this door shows Venus being unveiled by Hymen, the god of marriage. And look closely at the face of the goddess Venus. This is believed to be the face of Lady Spencer herself.
YouTube will punish me. I mean, this is on YouTube, but I love you, YouTube, don't hurt me. But I was watching a Rick Steves Europe video of, he was at a museum in Germany, and it was like nudity on that scale, right? Nothing huge, and it was in a painting, right? And it got copyrighted. or it got age restricted. I couldn't believe it. So if that happens here,
Very
not my
excited
fault.
when they come in this room, and that's not just
Well, I
because
could blur it, so it is my fault, I guess.
herself.
architectural historians get very excited when they come in this room, and that's not just because of the raunchy scenes of love and lust. This room is perhaps the most
Raunchy.
important 18th century interior in England, being the first room decorated entirely in the neoclassical style.
Beautiful, I love
You
it.
might be struck by the pristine condition Spencer House appears to be in. The colours are vivid, the gold detailing shines bright, and there's not an inch of cracked plaster or peeling paper to be seen. Well, there's good reason for this. Spencer House is one of the textbook examples of historical restoration work.
In 1941, fearing bomb damage during the Second World War, many of the original architectural fixtures, the chimney pieces,
Removed?
the doors, the chair rails, the skirting mouldings, the architraves, were removed and taken to Althorpe for safety. This proved to be a good move, for shortly after, the house was damaged by a blast.
The Packers were actually still at work when shortly after midnight on the 11th of May 1941, a 500-kilogram bomb fell on Bridgewater House a few yards to the south, wrecking the stables and shattering the windows in the house itself. And on the other side, another building was hit and completely demolished later on in the war. All of this greatly weakened the fabric of the house, and the ceiling of the painted room almost collapsed. After the war, the house was then leased out to various companies, first by Christie's, the art auctioneers, whose offices were bombed. Then it was the home of the British Oxygen Company, then the Economist Intelligence Unit, and then, in January 1985, the Investment Trust RIT Capital
Rothschild.
Partners plc,
His
under the chairmanship of Lord Rothschild. They secured a 96-year lease with an additional 24-year option.
I advise you to look up an interview with him. He has the most stereotypically British, upper class accent I've ever heard. No. The Empire was not, no. Sorry, I just made a fool of myself. Okay. Do it.
From 1987, Lord Rothschild, who described the place as a wreck when he found it, began an extensive, painstaking restoration. Expert art historians were commissioned to produce surveys of the house to establish its original character. Using this research and detailed paint analysis, which confirmed the existence of original colours and decorative schemes, they decided to restore the house to the state it was in the second half of the 18th century.
It was rather dragon here.
Involved replicating the original furniture and fittings which had been moved to Althorpe during the war. The most skilled
Walking near me.
replicating the original
In the second half of the 18th century.
This
Torture.
involved replicating the original furniture and fittings which had been moved to Althorpe during the war. The most skilled craftsmen in the country were called in, and original methods and techniques were used wherever possible. Then came the paintings and furniture. The original works were acquired on loan from the V&A, Leeds Museum and Tate.
The result is nothing short of exquisite. This has been seen as a benchmark example for historical restoration. And you can actually play quite a fun game of is it original or is it a replica? You might think the dining room fireplace has stood here forever, but this was actually carved in the 1990s.
1 for 1.
These two smaller mahogany bookcases flanking the chimney
New.
piece date from around 1810.
Dang
but
it.
the large one on the opposite side of the wall here was made to match in the late 1980s. You'd never guess. Oh! It's my favourite. I love this one. The Story of a Piece of Coal. Gripping stuff.
Colchester.
The door cases, chair rail and skirting mouldings in Lady Spencer's room were all recarved to the original patterns. This chimney piece was installed in 1992 and it took 5,800 man-hours to carve.
Of course, Spencer House has had its fair share of VIP guests over the years. In July 1857, the Spencers held a ball in honour of Queen Victoria. The house was illuminated with singular brilliancy and redolent of the choicest flowers. In 1992, luncheon was held at Spencer House, attended by the Queen and all of her living Prime Ministers, which included Prime Minister John Major and the former Prime Ministers Harold Wilson, Edward Heath, James Callaghan and Margaret Thatcher.
It was even here where Prince Charles had his 70th birthday party.
Of course, it wasn't the Earl Spencer who was doing all the cooking for these parties. There was a lot of work going on behind the scenes. These corridors are hidden between the grand rooms and would have been used to keep the servants and staff out of sight and out of mind.
This is the most important room of the whole house. This is the wine cellar, which has no doubt supplied many of the VIP guests of Spencer House over the years. In fact, Britain's oldest wine and spirits merchant, Berry Brothers and Rudd, which was founded in 1698, is just around the corner on St James's Street. So there's every chance they could have been stocking up these Spencer stores. Here's a sneak peek into the ladies' lavatory. Gentlemen, avert your gaze. Look at this extraordinary miniature version of the painted room upstairs, all with the decorations and furniture faithfully recreated.
That was trippy.
And this is the half-acre garden. The original layout was formal yet relaxed, with shrubbery and plants dotted around the edges. For security, an iron railing was put in on this side, while brick walls were built to the north and south.
So they had a beautiful house, they had a beautiful garden, but when it was originally installed, there was no way of travelling between the two. The answer was to build a little tunnel just to the side of the house. Down they came along these stone steps and through this vaulted tunnel. It passes a small storeroom, which was probably where they stored gardening equipment. So this is where the Monty Don types would hang out. So there you have it, the perfect miniature stately home in the heart of the city. As Arthur Young wrote in 1772, "I know not a more beautiful piece of architecture, all in richness, elegance and taste, superior to any house I have seen."
That was quick.
Thanks for watching this video on the History Hit YouTube channel. You can subscribe right here to make sure you don't miss any of our great films that are coming
Dan Snow, the
out.
GOAT.
Or if you are a true history fan, check out our special dedicated history channel, historyhit.tv. You're going to love it.
Auctioneers.
I've seen a lot of History Hit videos, clearly. Great video. Love y'all. Hope you're all doing well. Would appreciate any comments. If I ask any questions, any answers to those would be greatly appreciated. Hope you're all doing well, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.